Hey everyone, Paulo here. So I found another article today about technology, and it piqued my interest. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I guess we'll find out together here in just a moment. So this is coming at us from PC Gamer. So I think I've read a couple of their articles, and they tend to be pretty trash. Let's see if George Jimenez can impress us today. Let's see here. The people trying to work in a virtual office have found themselves in a real mess. Okay. So they show this picture of a dude here wearing VR glasses, and they say, okay, employees are struggling with virtual workspaces. So that makes sense. I imagine it's very different than working in the office. But let's see here. The daily meeting. Your company might have a fun name for it, like a stand-up or a team huddle. Kill me now. I'm so glad not to be in tech anymore. It's a necessary evil most workplaces have to deal with. So if you ever find yourself thinking to yourself, okay, wow, I hate these meetings. Okay. Just imagine, if you will, doing these same meetings, but in the metaverse. Turns out some companies have adopted this as their virtual reality. Ha. Okay. And to the surprise of no one, they seem like a mess. I'm sure someone was surprised. But I agree. I can't imagine those going over very well, but let's see why they seem like a mess. Oh gosh. So this is like regurgitated through two other sources, it looks like. A report in Slate via The Byte. So this person is just rewriting these other two stories, and we'll see what they have to say. Highlights Jimenez, I think his name was. Highlights issues plaguing some metaverse offices, ranging from technical issues, well, that's to be expected, to employees not wanting to engage with the technology at all. That's more interesting. A junior manager of a tech consulting firm, Accenture, shared her frustrating experience with Slate of simply hosting a meeting in Metaverse Workspace. It required her to take off the headset, grab the two-factor code, oh, that's a pain in the butt, yeah, from her phone, only to have the headset automatically go into sleep mode. I feel for her a little bit, but it also sounds like this is one of those instances where the problem is the interface, between the mouse and the key, or sorry, between the chair and the keyboard, more than anything. Some of her coworkers flat out missed meetings because of difficulty accessing the rooms. And I guess, yeah, things like that are probably going to be expected. Yeah, I would imagine what you really need is you need your Authy or whatever to be available inside the VR so that you don't have to do anything. That probably has its own problems. I guess maybe you would need your phone within Bluetooth distance, and then Authy should be able to access Authy through the phone somehow. Anyways, that's a solution, and we're trying to read about problems right now. All right. During the rollout of the VR workplace at Accenture, an issue of accessibility came up with some employees. Some reported motion sickness when using the headset and were unable to use it at all because of a disability, or they don't have working hands or something. The company hasn't given up, though, as it offers headsets to new hires. Okay. The same employees told Slate that most of her colleagues don't use the headsets much, mocking the whole thing as a low-fidelity Minecraft virtual happy hour. Yeah, it seems reasonable. Raul Mira, the co-founder of Roadcast, an India-based automation company, said that low internet bandwidth speeds across South and Southeast Asia lack South and Southeast Asia, lack of consistent and compatible software across different brands of hardware, that's a big problem, has been a problem for his company. He also said that more senior members of his company simply aren't comfortable with the technology. Mira still sees a use for the Metaverse Office for conducting job interviews that incorporating this tech makes his company look very forward-thinking to people he's hiring. I don't know. Like, I know VR still exists. You remember 3D televisions from, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago? I don't know. Like, there are still VR headsets and they're still getting upgrades and stuff. But I haven't seen any. Maybe the indications are there in the market. I haven't been paying attention at all that VR is on its way up. But it seems like a silly thing. The story goes into Slate's own problems with the VR at work approach running into the same problems as everyone else, like coworkers forgetting to charge or update their headsets and having issues like screen sharing from desktop for meetings. Okay. Oh boy. David Stern, the founder of the Slate Group supporting cast, sent headsets to a handful of his remote employees for meetings and the occasional VR hangout. He said that he's not sure it's better for meetings, particularly if you're doing a lot of screen sharing to look at someone's desktop. Okay. And these virtual meetings would likely be better for having an open conversation or brainstorm. Right. Okay. So totally, that makes sense, right? So Zoom is very good at sharing the desktop. I mean, what I'm doing right now, you can see my web browser here. We're reading this article together, and that makes sense. But when it comes to virtual reality, you're gonna have to do some weird things, right? Like, you're going to need lots of really nice interfaces, some way to access the desktop and manipulate things. And it's much easier to do with the mouse and a keyboard. And until we, make better, I guess, human interfaces devices, right? So until we make something that's better controlled with the mind, or I don't know, something like those little joysticks you use, I don't see how you can do a lot of things with those. Anyways, Stern admits that most of his employees' headsets are used for social gatherings and says the jury is still out on the productivity-centric use cases. Exactly. That makes total sense. I don't think that's surprising at all. The most popular metaverse workplace is Meta Horizon Workrooms, which is part of the bigger Horizon Worlds metaverse. It hasn't quite set the world on fire, dropping from 300,000 active users to 200,000 in just under a year. That, again, like I said, I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It doesn't make sense to me. The VR thing, it's much more gimmicky. Until or unless they make huge strides forward in some way, it's much more gimmicky. Given the recent departure of John Carmack and the 11,000 employees recently laid off in November, Meta's metaverse is in a very precarious situation. I can see the appeal of virtual workspaces from a cost-cutting standpoint. On paper, buying a headset and having your employees work on 3 virtual monitors is cheaper than leasing an office space, buying actual monitors and various office equipment. But if employees are having issues just trying to attend meetings in the metaverse, it seems like it would be difficult to convince them to work an entire shift with a headset on. The VR office is still mostly in its infancy. Right. I mean, Meta did just add legs to Horizon only a few short months ago. I don't know what that means. Right, so, yeah, I don't see how this technology I don't see a path forward for it currently in its current state, right? Like, the headset is way too big, and they need to make that much smaller. They're going to need to have some much better way to interface with the computing system. Like, you need the mouse and the keyboard. And unless they invent some, like, I guess Neuralink or something like that, unless they invent some way to think things into the computer, there's just nothing. You need the mouse and the keyboard. I don't know. I just don't see the usefulness of this technology, and honestly, this technology was invented for gaming. Of course, the idea is that you get this nice technology that's invented for gaming, and then we're going to go use it somewhere else where it makes sense. But I don't think it's even being very successful in the gaming industry, right? Like, Half-Life Alyx was a fairly big game, but what other major VR games have ever come out? Not any that I'm aware of. I haven't followed video game industry or video game news in a long time. Really, the only video game news I follow these days is Hogwarts Legacy, just because it's so interesting, like all the attacks against it. And mostly what I cover here on this channel is culture war stuff. And this is not that. But I spent 10 years in big tech, and I spent 10 years, running computer systems and programming and doing all sorts of stuff. And I just don't see any use for VR technology other than a gimmicky game thing, right? And the real thing that people want is total immersion, and that's not going to come from a VR headset. So I think the real next step would be some kind of fully immersive experience, but that, I don't think we're anywhere near that. I just don't see any way that it's going to replace it, but I'm not the visionary creating the technology. Anyways, this is Paulo. Thank you for listening to me today. Please leave a comment, subscribe if you like this. Let me know what I'm doing well. Let me know what I could do better. Anyways, I hope you all have a great day.